Today I'm speaking with Toffee Coleman with Fluke about the value of teaming up with schools, training programs, and industry associations to boost learning and skill building. Toffee Coleman leads strategic educational partnerships at Fluke Corporation. She oversees sponsorships, sales, marketing, and philanthropic programs to drive tool adoption and brand awareness in the trades, both union and non-union, and other vocational and university education segments. Toffee has become known for her insight into the training needs of the educator and workforce trends, offering solutions for Fluke and its partners to support development of the next generation of engineers and technicians. She is an advocate for increasing participation in STEM by underrepresented communities and serves on several industry and educational councils dedicated to this effort. In her spare time, you can find Toffee cheering on her favorite sports team. She said, "Go Pack Go," tackling her ever-growing reading list, and enjoying a live concert. Welcome to Keeping the Lights On. I'm your host, Todd Reed, and on this podcast, I connect with the owners and pros who design, build, and maintain our electrical, communications, and industrial world to explore the best ways forward. Let's get into the show. I like to start out each episode talking about the meals that bring us together, because I'm trying to bring different ideas and people from different backgrounds together, and the good place to do that is over a meal. Kind of hard to do this via this platform. I guess we could both be eating here, but so Toffee, if I or one of the audience members were to visit you in your hometown, where might you take us, and why would you choose this place?
So I currently live in Seattle, which isn't my hometown, but for this conversation, I would say if you came to visit Seattle, for those who have not been here, Seattle is a great seafood capital. So we're known for our fresh fish, sushi, all the fresh seafood you can imagine is here. Whenever I have friends come or family come to Seattle, or even customers, I typically take them to Pike Place Market, where they throw the fish, and we tour the market. It has some fantastic views of the Sound, so I usually will tour the market, grab some clam chowder from Pike Place Chowder, grab some Rachel's ginger beer.
That sounds good.
And some flowers. They actually call the flowers that you can buy at Pike Place Market Date Row, because you can get these beautiful bouquets of flowers for $20 or $10. So grab a bushel of flowers, and then take the ferry over to Bainbridge. It's a 30-minute ride, and again, this provides an experience to ride the ferry, which a lot of people don't get to do. And then from there, get off on the ferry and walk a little bit around downtown Bainbridge, and then get back on the ferry. And the ferry ride back to Seattle is, again, a very fantastic photographic view of the downtown skyline. And so once we do that, then go to the Space Needle for some views on top of the Space Needle. I personally like to go in the evening when the sun's about to set, because that gives you the best views. Followed by dinner at Toulouse Petite, which is one of my favorite Seattle restaurants for Cajun-style seafood. Even if you're not a seafood eater, you can get other items as well. But my family heritage is Creole, and so as you can imagine, it might be kind of hard to find Cajun-style places in Seattle. But this place is a perfect mix of Cajun and seafood. And my parents have gone there, and they approve. So if parents approve, then you know it's good.
Okay, good.
So if you're looking for some good jambalaya, catfish, etouffee, beignets, fried green tomatoes, this is a spot. And no one has ever been disappointed when I've taken them to Toulouse.
So I would love the tour, hanging out with you all day, just kind of doing that. But I got to think, and I don't know if this would happen while we were kind of going around Seattle and on the ferry and all that stuff. But when I guess I should step back a second. I've known Toffee for, I don't know, a few years now, just through work stuff and, different conventions and things like that. And we've had some fun times just chatting and hanging out in different towns and stuff. But I'll tell you, every time I'm walking with you in a convention setting, right? So we're walking down one of the conventions that we kind of run across each other, electrical conventions typically. We are always stopped by people. I'd like to think they're wanting to talk to me because I'm a world famous podcaster, but no, They don't want to talk to me. They want to talk to Toffee. And so that's why I wanted to talk to you. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show, is because obviously, you're making an impact on the industry. And so I kind of wanted to dive in and kind of learn a little bit more about kind of what it is that you do. And because you and I don't talk a lot about that. We just talk about a bunch of things around kind of the industry and pretty broadly. So I thought, what a great chance to kind of introduce you to the audience and kind of what you do. And although I say that, half, probably more of the electrical audience knows you already before, listening to this, they're like, oh, it's Toffee. So, but kind of what you're doing with Fluke and helping educate the electrical workforce. And so, you're really supporting the field based on just the impact I see walking around with you in a convention setting. So that all said, long intro to say, Toffee, kind of what is your typical day at Fluke and how you're interacting with the industry?
Wow. Well, thank you for the compliment. Um, you're welcome to be a part of my entourage any day.
Thanks.
So I've been at Fluke for about 12 years now, and when I first started at Fluke, I was in more of a public relations managerial role, so really supporting the launches of our new products and making sure that we had a presence with media and relationships with the press to make sure that Fluke was getting the right representation in the media and that customers knew about our products and our offerings. And adjacent to that role was a educational partnership program that we had in existence where we provided training content and donations and a discount program to non-for-profit educational organizations. So think about, your apprenticeship training programs, your, community colleges, your universities, trade schools, high schools that would be using our products for a variety of classes related to engineering or being an electrician, HVAC technician, etc. And so we had these existing partnerships with a few national organizations where we were getting exposure. And the person who started this program had the intent that if we partnered with these organizations, that it would help drive the adoption of our tools by students because they are considered the next or generation or future customers for Fluke. The adage in the industry or just in general is that whatever you use in the classroom is what you use in the field. And so the program had this kind of got its legs from that strategy. And so I started, in addition to the PR work that I was doing, I started leveraging our partnerships with different educational organizations to be what we call influencers or voice of customer for some of the products we were launching. Because what I thought was, well, not only should we be getting existing customers, but we should be partnering with our organizations who are developing the future customers to receive some of the products that we were launching, to test some of the products we were launching, and to be involved in more of the activities that were available through our partnerships. So once I started doing that, we started seeing more traction and more people asking how could they be involved and more outreach from the organizations that we were partnering with. And I also looked at organizations that we had previous relationships with and started reaching out to them and re-engaging them and leveraging some of our key educational contacts who not only were a part of these organizations, but also taught at the different schools across the country. And so once we started seeing more traction and engagement, and quite honestly, sales through our discount program, our leadership felt like we should definitely make this a dedicated focus. So I then moved away from the PR role and really started to marketize our education partnership program. So that was, making sure we were lined up in our discount program. So we offer a 25% discount to not-for-profit educational organizations. We provided donations to these organizations as well, and training support. So we had a whole host of training materials that were available for educators to use to incorporate into their curriculums. And so once we started doing that and really strengthening our partnerships with these organizations, expanding them, and then also partnering even stronger with our distributors like Gray Bar, who sell our tools and offer this discount, we really started seeing a larger impact and engagement with this community. And I'm talking specifically about education. And then to your question around what my day looks like, it varies. If I'm on the road, if I'm on the road at a NECA show or IEC show, it could be me working with the local sales rep or a distribution partner and having a booth and engaging with those customers and promoting the tools and trainings and other offers we have available. Or it could be me and working from home or in the office, meeting with our teams and strategizing over the different activities that we have going on and how we can continue to support our efforts in engaging and supporting this industry. So
I really should probably have gotten some of those people, grab some of those people I see talking to you, right, that come up. So this is going to be a little, maybe feel a little self-promoty, but I apologize for that in advance. And audience, she is not prepared for this necessarily. But I guess I'm going to ask you, to, why do you think you have so many people come up to you? I mean, what would they say to me if I were to ask them?
oh, that's a really good question. And it also feels awkward to
It
say,
it,
this
it
is why
does.
people want to talk to me. I'm so awesome. Like,
I'm incredible. Well, you have certainly heard. You've probably heard from people that have said things to you, and I'm just curious, like maybe what you hear.
yes. Uh, a couple of things. I think, again, people really value relationship. And I think what I do is I listen to what people need and do my best to offer that and supporting them any which way I can with the Fluke offerings we provide. Um, I think there's some empathy and care there. It's not just a transactional relationship; it really is a partnership. You know, not to play on the partnership word, but it really is. And it's relationship 101. You know, it's people are happy to buy and collaborate with people that they like and can trust and have received for support from. And so I think it comes down to that. And again, you know, you asked me earlier about what things I like to do in hobbies. And I talked about really understanding people and, you know, understanding people's experiences. I think that's has served me well in this role because I really do want to know. I'm curious, like, you know, for example, at JTC, like, what are your needs? Like, what are you struggling with? You know, what training materials do you need to support? How can we help you? Um, you know, with a contractor, it's, you know, how, you know, what work do you have in your area? Like, what's big, what's coming up? And internally, which I think you know in large organizations, I don't do this by myself, right? Like I have to have the support of the field sales team and our distribution partners like Great Bar to also be a partner because I can't sell the tool, you know, I can promote it, but it's essentially them buying it through a distributor who's a partner who also is committed to the vision and the partnership that I've created. It's also the field seller who says, yes, I'm down to be a part and also be a local support for this customer. It's the product teams who will often reach out and say, hey, do you have a customer or contractor we can talk to about a new product we're developing? Well, they become a part of that community there.
Okay, well, you know, in those conversations with those people coming up to you in conventions, I'm can almost guarantee a topic that comes up, I don't know what, a high percentage of the time is the struggle with the industry and recruiting and training and keeping a trained and qualified labor force, whether union or non-union or whatever, it doesn't matter. I've spent a lot of time on this topic on the show and, you know, several episodes on it very specifically about that. But I would like to just get your real quick high level perspective on it. So how can you maybe in your what you do day to day or a company like Fluke that's supporting the industry, how can they help recruit and train, you know, our electrical workforce?
I find in my position specifically, it really is supporting the efforts that the educational organizations are trying to do to recruit and train folks to come into their prospective colleges or training centers. It's like you said, it's part of my job to be aware of that, but also to hone in on what Fluke does best in order to support this. So what I hear all the time is that because of that 30 or so years where they were we, and I'm saying collective we as the country was promoting university and kind of shunned or downplayed trade school and community college work, we lost, we lost that whole generation of folks who could have been electricians or plumbers or, HVAC technicians. We lost it. And now we're playing catch up. We're playing catch up big time. And so, you have community colleges that are developing new programs. A lot of schools are getting funding from the government. Apprenticeship programs are to, invest heavily on, with grants, scholarships, stipends, anything they can to, promote folks going into these careers. STEM careers have always been mostly male and mostly white. So now you're trying to change the image of what an engineer looks like, change the image of what an electrician looks like. And so you got to promote this to women and other underrepresented communities that, that the space is for them, that, it's equal opportunity, that they can have a thriving and, very remarkable and long career in the field. It's also letting them know about what's available. Like you can become an electrician, but you also could become an instructor. You could become a contractor and own your own business. You could become a lead foreman. The opportunities are endless. And so I think what Fluke and a lot of under industry partners are doing is trying to say, hey, let's do what we can to market this field in a different way. We've got to showcase that it's a reflection of the country, that it's women, that it's men, that it's, people of color. It's a wide array of people who are doing this work, and that they could have a really outstanding career in that. And so, again, in addition to the workforce challenge, it's the stigma of what that person looks like. So we're combating two different challenges here.
Yeah.
And so where Fluke and I think we thrive and do best at is where we say, hey, and this is my personal goal, is that I don't want to limit access to anyone who wants an opportunity. And so what that means is that, no program should have to worry about the cost of tools. And I say this knowing that Fluke is a premium brand. This is what I deal with every day. Our tools are probably more expensive than your other tools that you may find. But I can guarantee you we have the safety, the testing, the quality that supports why you would pay more for a premium tool. So knowing that, we offer the discount program to help schools. Ours is probably one of the most competitive across our competitors. We waive freight and taxes, so that reduces additional expenses on the tools. For some of our key products, we have a buy two, get one. So if they buy two at the discount, they didn't get one free. So again, when you're thinking about labs that are trying to buy multiple tools for incoming classes or trying to do lab outfits, this is where we say, hey, we know the cost can be expensive. We know that you have budgets. We're here to offer this discounting and other special offers to help you get the tools that you need. There's training materials. Again, the first thing people always ask me is, okay, I bought this meter, but there's a lot of features. How do I use it? How can I train with it? And we say, okay, we've got free content, YouTube videos, online courses that you can incorporate into your curriculums. So again, that is not a barrier for you being able to teach or have your students use the tool. And then it's also donations. Again, we know folks, budgets are tight, when you're trying to buy a lot of tools, not only just Fluke, but other tools for your classroom, it can be tough. And so we say, hey, reach out to us, work with us. We will, see what we can give. I always say it's never a no. It's just a matter of what. And so not only do we have new tools, but we also have a refurbished tool crib where we have access tools that either have been returned or lightly used. and they're perfect for, use in the classroom. And so I tell people, again, back to the partnership, it's not a one-time deal. And I think that's why I do have those relationships. And when people stop and see me, they'll say, "Hey, I still use that meter that you gave me for graduation back in 2000, whatever." Or, "Hey, we're still using that instrumentation tools we were able to get through your special offer you provided." So, and I tell everybody, this is not a one time deal. It's an ongoing partnership because we know needs change. I've seen some JATCs and schools grow from, 1 to 2 programs to 5 programs. Or in Seattle, the Puget Sound JATC is one of the apprenticeship programs that's right in our backyard. And I remember when I started, they had on average like a few hundred apprentices. Now they're in the thousands.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it's again, it's an ongoing partnership because the customer changes, the needs change, and it's my job, and I think also Fluke and the industry's job to be on top of that. Listening and seeing and keeping a pulse on what's going on, so that way you can actively support and also be proactive about what tools or solutions you have going on to be a part of that customer journey. So don't bring them in after the product is launched to say, "Hey, I got this for you." Bring them in from the start, from the conception. And
Mm.
again, that bodes well to the relationship and having them part of that journey. So that way they are already locked in with how to use the tool, how to use the solutions, and then, share them with their students and also with their contractors and other business folks who use it in their businesses. So,
I remember one time I was at a Train the Trainer event, and um, they had a room, like a U-shaped room, like a big classroom at this university where they're doing Train the Trainer program. And each table or whatever, each seating position had a motor, like a little motor of some kind. And also each one had a Fluke meter of a particular kind. And the whole class was teaching, you know, how to use proper tests and also how to, so they were doing a little bit of actual functionality, like here's how you test these motors, but then at the same time, here's how you use this particular Fluke meter. How would something like that come about? Now, is that an idea that do you think Fluke had, or is that an idea that maybe the association, a trainer had, and then came to Fluke and said, "Hey, can you help?"
it's a mix of both. So there
Okay.
are organizations where they say, "Hey, we like Fluke and we feel your tools would be great for this training. How can we work together?" There are other times where I have said, based on what I'm seeing in from a what is the macro view? I always get those confused,
Mm,
macro, micro.
yeah.
Macro view, I can see, okay, in the next year or two, EV and solar training is going to be
Mm,
big. So how can I partner with select JTCs or schools where we can do train the trainer? Because a lot of these programs are having to either they're being mandated to be trained on EV and solar solutions, or it's a big part of the work in their area. So that's where I pull together my sales reps, the product specialists, and sometimes a distribution partner like a Gray Bar and say, "Hey, there's a big opportunity here for some trainer work that we can do not only with the instructors but also with the contractors and journeymen as well." And so a lot of times, again, based on partnership and having folks who value what we bring and know that we will deliver, they will put that together and we'll work together to put that together. So um, it's a mix of both, I would say. It's
gotcha.
looking at the opportunity and how it can support the industry going forward, or it's looking at existing needs and saying, "Hey, yes, we want to come in and support with the applicable tools that can support your training."
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the sign. Kind of what I want people to walk away with this from. Like, you don't have to necessarily think of Fluke specifically, but kind of adapt this to whatever area you need to work in. But a true partnership is, and we're going to get into this next. Actually, it's my next set of questions. But kind of reach out to the Flukes of the world and whatever. Like that training, they had to reach out to the motor person too, right? Fluke doesn't make motors, so they had to reach out and partner with a motor
Hmm.
manufacturer to either
Exactly.
discount or provide those. So
Hmm.
I will link to a specific place I found on the Fluke website that kind of talks about all the student discounts and resources,
Hmm.
and there's a bunch of
Yeah.
sites in there. But this is true with many or most, I don't know, many of the manufacturers in the field of the electrical and com data. that they want to help with this because it's crucial to the industry. So,
Mhm.
all right, well, let's get into creating the partnerships in the industry. So I'm going to look at it from the what I'll call the provider side, either a manufacturer or distributor or a consultant of some kind, and the customer viewpoint. So we're going to look at both, but let's start with I'll just the provider or manufacturer side. And I guess so you're talking to the provider side right now. And you're wanting to, engage the education side of the industry you sell into. So what are three things that you would think of for they need to think about as they think about engaging the education side of the markets they serve?
I would say first is look at what you do well. I know this term is probably used a lot, but boiling the ocean. I think a lot of times when companies start thinking about strategy and how they want to engage with a customer segment, if you want to say, they start thinking about all the things they're trying to solve and start with the critical few. What is it that you want to achieve here? What is it that you do well and what is it that you want to achieve? And then again, leaning into what you do well. So if you are I'm just making this up, a training company, well, what specific training do you provide? And maybe that's what you want to hone in on and find the affiliate organizations that you can work with to partner to reach that audience. I'm just using that for example.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's probably coupled together is knowing what you do well, focus on the critical few, and know your objective. Know your objective. Second, I would say is bring the customer in from the start. Again, if you're thinking about expanding partnerships or instituting a partnership program, I would get a pulse on what it is your customer wants and needs, and integrate that into what you can also offer that they don't think they need. I think that's always a good part.
Mm.
I would also say be open to change and reiterating and revamping. Even with this program, it's definitely changed over the last 12 years. When I started owning the program, it did a 360,
Mm.
and now we're getting ready to see what else we can do. So be open to change, be open to seeing what partnerships look like for you, what offerings you provide, what trainings you provide, what organizations you partner with. If 12 years ago we weren't partnering with any solar or EV organizations. Now that's a key vertical for us. So
Mm. Yeah.
so
Okay.
that probably was definitely more than three, but
Yeah, you were hitting your limit. I'll cut you off. I'll do a lot of heavy editing on this one. Okay. All right. Let's look at the flip side. So I'll call them either the customer, the
Mhm.
association, or maybe the educator, however you want to phrase it.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're thinking about, hey, I need some help here, and I need to create some better
Mhm.
industry partnerships. So, all right, let's keep it to three, Toffee, or whatever. What are a couple things, two to three things, whatever, that you would suggest to an association leader or educator leader on how to create those partnerships?
Don't be afraid to ask. So I cannot tell you how many times I've met, contractors or educators who say, I wanted to reach out, but I thought it was going to be asking for too much, or I didn't know if you could do it. And I always say, well, we get to decide what's too much. We get to decide if we don't want to do it. So it's always good to be a no if you don't ask. So,
Yep, that's good.
so don't be afraid to ask. And I think a lot of times, even from our perspective as manufacturers or the industry partners, is that we have to realize that corporate and education work very different, and especially in the union space, like there's very much a rank and file and a process to how they work, and those timelines can be very different from a corporate timeline. So again, when you're trying to understand
Mm,
your customer, you need to understand that going forward in establishing these relationships about how you will work together. So I think it's really on the industry partner to realize that, because we're usually the one wanting to provide the service or ask for the support or ask for the sales or ask for the opportunity to engage.
hmm
But back to the customer or educator side is don't be afraid to ask.
Okay.
I'd also say is we are typically large matrix organizations. So if you don't hear from someone the first time, don't be afraid to reach out again, because people's and roles change. But um, again, don't be afraid to to sync up or reach out again. And then I'd also say is be vocal about your needs. Be vocal about your needs. Tell us what we need, good or bad. And that's the other thing I always tell people. I'm happy to hear that you've used your meter for 30 years and it's never failed you. That is great to hear. But what I also want to hear is where we didn't get it right. Like, what would you like to see us do better? What experience with the meter made you think, oh, you know what? I could really use this feature. And send that in, because you would not be surprised how many times an engineer or product development person has said, hey, that person reached out. I'd like to talk to more about them about
Mm,
that. So
hmm.
don't think that your feedback is going on deaf ears. It definitely gets corralled and is shared amongst groups. Yeah, I was just going to add on to that. It's like, don't reinvent the wheel. You know, don't have, again, don't start. I mean, a lot of times existing examples already exist, existing trainings, existing partnerships that you can leverage exist. And so don't feel like you need to start from scratch or do it on your own. This industry is just too vast and too connected where there isn't going to be an answer for something that you need. And I can tell you, and I'm sure you've seen it in the partnership landscape, we're all aligning and leveraging each other. It's we're all, it's like no one person is on their own creating content, or we're all kind of
Mm,
this ecosystem. So
hmm.
don't feel like if you try to do something that you're just going to be the only one. I guarantee you somebody has done some form of it or is willing to align with you and helping you develop what it is that you're trying to do. So
How would, if I'm an educator, how would I even start to do this? Like, you can talk about Fluke specifically, but maybe if you can kind of think of it broadly too, that you've seen it work with others. Like,
yeah, I would say for, again, the industry that we work in, I think all of the manufacturers have some type of program, either educational, training. So most of the time, this local sales rep will know information. If you can get your local sales rep, if you have asked your colleagues, because they probably have information, and if they
hmm.
don't, your distributor may know as well. Because a lot of times I'll hear from Gray Bar or it's another distributor that says, hey, I have a customer who wants to know what training we have for X.
Mm,
So your distributor is also a great person. And then if we've met or somebody's given you my information, please reach out. I'm
okay.
happy to always chat, and I can't tell you how many emails I get where I met so and so and they said that you've helped you with this, or hey, I saw this information on your website, or so there's a lot of different avenues to get connected, and I would honestly use all of them. If you can get your distributor, get the sales rep, even if you just go to a company's website and they have the info tab, I'm sure someone will get back to you. They wouldn't have that email on there for they didn't want anybody to reach out.
Right.
But leverage your existing community, and contacts, and start from there. Again, I always say is that we don't know what you need until you tell us, and it's way more of the educational community than it is companies. So everybody has a different need. Everybody, has challenges, solutions they're trying to solve. Some of them are very common, some of them are very unique. And so for us specifically, I always say, if your situation is unique, I want to talk to you about what that looks like. I don't want to just send you a blanket tools or send you a blanket X. I do want to talk to you and see how we can support. And again, I think that's why when people see me, I've been able to um, connect with them one on one and really understand what their need is.
Mm,
And
okay.
so, I think people feel supported. I think they feel seen. It helps them do their job better. We're all helping each other. So,
Cool. Well, Toffee, we are nearing the end of our time. So I always like to close it out by asking the guest, like refocusing on the why of what we do. So I am curious what motivates you to do this day in and day out. What keeps you excited and passionate about what you do besides talking to me on a podcast?
it's all you, Todd. It's all
Thank
you,
you.
Todd.
Perfect. That's what I wanted. Just cut. Let's edit that. All right.
I think again because this role allows me to a I'm a marketer. This is I love marketing and I love relationship building and I love understanding what makes people tick. So this role kind of checks off all those for me. I get to provide an offering and a service that meets the needs of our customers. I get to continually engage. And my customers aren't just the standard end user customer. It's our distribution partners. It's my internal customers. It's our, the cross functional teams that I work with. So, for me to be able to work cross functionally internally, and then also work with the industry partners, customers, etc. Keeps me jazzed. And I also get to work for a company that's well respected. It's a brand that I believe in. It's a quality brand. I don't think I could work for this company if I didn't believe the Fluke brand, the brand and quality. I think, I have enough customer feedback and testimonials to know that, we're not just saying it, but the customers believe it too.
Okay. Yeah.
And then again, I get to learn new things and to be honest, I didn't even know what Fluke was before I came here. I had no idea
Sure.
what a Fluke was, who Fluke, I mean, any of that. But I'm really glad to be in a space in the STEM field because this is the field that's going to continue to grow. Like this area is going to always need jobs, support, and training. And I also want to be an advocate for people to go into these fields. I see firsthand, the work and the skills that are needed, and I think a lot of people could benefit or would be great in these fields. We need more representation across the board. And I'm happy to work for a company that is supplying the tools that they would use in the field. But I also have been to be an advocate for going into the field as well. So I think when people see me, I've had, different women and even men say, wow, it's really great to see a woman and a woman of color in this field, in this industry. It's good to see that Fluke is advocating to have people go into these fields, is also really inspiring too. So I'm inspired by these folks who use our tools. I'm in awe every day at what they can do. I mean, I know high level how our tools work. I know the
Yeah.
features, but the folks who are literally putting their lives on the line every day for us, I'm happy to do what I can to give them what they need to do their job. So
Awesome. Well, Toffee, thank you so much for being here. It was, we've been trying to connect on this for quite some time, and it's
maybe
really
like two
fun.
years. I
Just
get
yeah,
it.
no big deal. Um, anyway, it's always fun to. It's kind of this is really more an excuse for me to just hang out with you for an hour and share you with the guests. So thank you so much for taking your time to be here and your support of the industry.
Yeah, no, thank you. And hopefully next time we'll do it in person at Toulouse. So
Oh, that'd be sweet. Perfect. Well, that was my conversation with Toffee Coleman of Fluke. You can connect with Toffee and what she's working on by heading to the links in the show notes. I'm curious, have you successfully created industry partnerships to improve the education of your workforce or the workforce of the customers you work with? Please email them to me at podcast@graybar.com. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, you can help us grow the show by subscribing and leaving a 5-star rating in your favorite podcast player and also on YouTube. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Keeping the Lights On. We'll see you next time. So what advice would you give to 18-year-old Toffee Coleman?
don't overthink it. Don't overthink it.
And how's that translate? Like how's that apply, I guess,
Yeah, I
practically?
think, it's really hard sometimes to go back to when you're that age because the way that you live now, it's a lived life for a long time. So how you live and operate is you just can't think that you wouldn't operate the way you do now. And so I think overthinking applies to a lot of things where I remember at that age, you're thinking about college, you're thinking about am I making the wrong decision if I go down X path? Um, those kind of gut feelings or intuitions that we typically ignore at that age. Um, I think, you know, I'm gonna pause for a second so you can edit this out.
Don't overthink it.
Right. Right. No, but I think at that age, everything is coming at you. And what someone always told me is that whatever you make, the decision you make will always be the right decision at that time. And so you can't think about the ripple effects because a lot of times you don't know what experiences you have that will alter, how you make future decisions. So thinking that you're planning for 20 years ahead when life is just not that way makes me think back to decisions I was making at that time. And I definitely don't. A lot of decisions I think I would have. I'm happy with them, but there are some where I think about how, had I had the tools and information now, I probably would have just made quicker